my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and these are the hottest Golden Age comics for the week. Let's take a look at it. I'm recording this on May the 4th too, so this is May the 4th would be with you. This will be an interesting video because it's all over the place. Lots of cool stuff, but all over the place in terms of up and down. So let's get into it. Let's see what happened this week. First one, number 10 on the list, is Weird Science number 10 from EC Comics, 1951. It's a Wally Wood cover. And it's just a classic Wally Wood cover. It's a sci-fi cover, bubble helmets, got a weird tentacle monster. It's just kind of a cool cover. And these Wally Wood covers generally go for a little bit more because of the fact that he's one of the few artists that was really popular during his time as an artist in the Golden Age. People would write into EC, asking for more Wally Wood art. And he's a kind of a cool artist for that. He suffered from crazy headaches and he eventually killed himself, actually. So tragic character in history, but very, very loved artist. This was a 2.0 sale, and it was sold for $239. Now, this is the only sale in this grade, so it's a record, but it's actually down compared to what a 1/8 sold for just a couple weeks ago. There was a 1/8 that sold for $264 on April 23rd, 2024. So this is kind of down compared to that 1/8 sale, but it is a record for the grade. So take that whatever way you want, but I'd say generally what ends up happening with these kind of lower grades, like between 1.5, 1.8, 2.0, you get a lot of price compression where they can kind of be very similar in terms of price. So this is kind of within that, but it could have been a bit stronger. You would have expected this to sell for closer to $300. There are 90 of these on the census, and 88 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 9 on the list is Shadow Comics Volume 3, number 10. This is from Street and Smith, 1944. It's an interesting cover because it's a skull cover, but it's a skeleton basically with a bloody knife stabbing the shadow from behind. It's a pretty cool cover. There's actually a lot of these Shadow comics that have really interesting covers, and generally the more extreme ones can go for a bit of money, but it's one of these titles where a lot of the covers, a lot of the books in it are fairly affordable. This was a 4.0 that sold, and it sold for $215. Now again, it's an only sale for this grade. However, there was a 2.0 that sold for $126 in May of 2023, and there was a 6.5 that sold for $780 in July of 2021. So this book kind of goes for around $50 to $75 per point, and this is actually kind of in line with that, so it was a reasonable sale. There's only 13 of these on the census, and 13 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 8 on the list is Ranger Comics number 38. This is from Fiction House from 1947. It is a Joe Dooling cover, and it's also one that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent because it has this woman on a horse being hung. And it's one of those things where, she's on the horse and the noose is around her neck, and you have a man kind of hitting the horse as if to scare it away. So basically she's going to hang from this. That was one of the things that was mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. So this is kind of a key book. It's not one that's actually a commonly recognized Seduction of the Innocent book, but it was actually mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. It's one of those things when Frederick Wortham was not necessarily very obvious about which books were being mentioned. He kind of had these like obscure references. And then it was almost like a detective thing where people would have to figure out what books was he referring to in The Seduction of the Innocent, and what books led to the destruction of young kids' minds, basically. And there's people and there's websites actually devoted to deciphering which books were from The Seduction of the Innocent. And this was one of those ones that was determined to be from The Seduction of the Innocent, not yet recognized by CGC. This was a 5.5 that sold, and it sold for $500. Now, the previous record for this book was set back in March of 2022 for $432. So this is up from that prior record. It's sort of in line with what I would expect this book to sell for in a 5.5. Actually, I have a 6.5 in my own collection of this, and I paid around $580 for mine. So kind of in line with what I paid even. So reasonable sale for this book. There are 62 of these on the census, and 60 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 7 on the list is probably going to be the steal of the week because it's Batman 61. Now, this is from DC Comics, 1950. It's a Win Mortimer cover, and it's the origin of the Batplane number 2. And it's also got an ad for Tomahawk number 1. So it's got a lot of cool things going for it. And also shows the Batplane number 2 on the cover where they're kind of creating these little models of the plane. This was a 5.5 that sold, and sold for $550. If you do the math, that's $100 per point. Well, the previous record for this grade was set back in 2013 for $294, which means that it's doubled since 2013. However, there's been other sales in other grades that kind of point to a different story. A 5.0 sold in August of 2023 for $988, and a 6.0 sold in January of this year for $2,280. So this 5.5 is way down. It's about, based on the 6.0 sale, you would have expected this one to sell for around $1,500 to $1,700, that kind of range. So it's about a third of what you would expect this book to have sold for. So somebody got a really great price on this book, $550. Great price. There's 124 of these on the census, and 115 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 6 on the list is I Loved, number 30. Now this is an extremely rare book. This is from Fox Featured Syndicate, and it's from 1949. It's kind of a great cover. It's got this very close-up shot of a woman with a yellow polka dotted dress, and it has like these things underneath where it says like, "I was a good time girl," and then she has like a little a word bubble by her, and she says, "And why not?" Very suggestive. Just a really interesting book. This I Love series actually was the numbering was continued from Rula. And so it started, I believe it's issue 29 becomes I Loved. And this is the second issue of the series. This was an interesting sale because there are actually no records of this book in any grade selling ever. And this was a 1.5 that sold for best offer of $1,200. So I don't know how much it actually sold for. It was a best offer. It was originally set at $1,200. I don't know what it actually sold for. This is the rarest of the I Loved titles. Generally, the census count on the other I Loved ones is around 7. This has about 3 on the census. So 3 of 3. It's 3 universals. Now, similar books within the same title, I kind of looked at them to see what generally they would go for. And that's what you have to do. Like if you get these books where you don't know, like really don't know, because there's no sales history, There's no way to compare it, and there's very low census. How do you figure out the price? Well, what you do is you look at other books in the same title, and you figure out how much do those sell for. Well, similar books in the same title go for around $100 to $200 per point. So 1.5 selling for maybe close to $1,200 is a big sale, because usually a 1.5 in any of the other titles, other issues of the series, would sell for around $100 to $150, maybe $200. So really great price on this book. Somebody made big money on this book. But it is incredibly rare. So you gotta weigh that. I don't know, somebody really wanted it, and you're probably not going to see it that often. So yeah, somebody snapped it up, and the seller got a great price. Interesting one. As I said, there's 3 on the census, and all of them are universal blue labels. Number 5 on the list is Fighting Yank number 21. This is from Neor Publications, and it's from 1947. It's an Alex Schomburg cover, and it's a lingerie cover. It's also the last appearance of Kara, but it's the lingerie that really makes this cover stand out, and it's a classic cover. This was a 6.5 that sold, and it sold for $1,724.99. So let's say $1,725. Now, again, there's no previous records for this grade, sales history. So we don't have a sales history to compare it with. However, we do have comparables with other grades. There was a 7.0 that sold in September of 2023 for $2,280. And there was a 4.5 that sold for $1,560 in 2020. And there was a 2.0 that sold for $576 in April of 2024. So just last month, a week ago, really. So this one is kind of in line with those sales, maybe a little bit down. I would have said, I would have expected it to sell for closer to maybe $1,800. So it was a little bit below what you might expect. But again, this is where figuring out the price is really difficult, where you don't have that sales history. So, but it was a good price. It was a good sale, sort of in line with what you would expect. There are 44 of these on the census, and 40 of them are universal blue labels. Number 4 on the list is Mad number 1. This is from EC Comics 1952. It's a Harvey Kurtzman cover, and it is a major book. This is a kind of a grail in a way, because it is the first satire book, and it's sort of where EC went after the Golden Age. EC was one of the few companies that was really targeted in the seduction of the innocent, and really the Senate hearings and all that was really against EC, because they would have things like you couldn't use the word weird or creepy, or certain words you weren't allowed to use, like terror, on a cover. And those were basically targeting EC titles. So they basically William Gaines basically said, I can't, Bill Gaines said, can't do this anymore. And he just switched over to publishing Mad magazines. He focused on Mad, and Mad was a huge success. And it's actually an iconic magazine for the US. I mean, it's like an institution on itself. And he actually made more money selling Mad than he ever did selling comics. So really a major comic, because it was originally a comic and switched over to being a magazine later. But it's just a major book for collectors of Mad, especially. So this was a 3.0 that sold, and it sold for $1,799.95, which is around $1,800. And this is slightly down. The previous record for this book was set back in September of 2022 for $1,900. So slightly down from that previous record. But recently, this book hasn't really been performing that well. There was a recent sale for like the same grade for $1,100. That was back in April of 2024. So just last month. And that sale, that one that happened for $1,100, I think was a steal. Somebody got a steal and they flipped it. So this was actually a buy it now for the 3.0. And the guy basically was cashing in on it. So he flipped it, made, you know, $700 on the flip. And, you know, that shows you that you can make money even in the golden age flipping books. And that's exactly what somebody did. They got a steal at $1,100 and they flipped it for $1,800. So just an interesting one. This book is actually pretty common. There are 618 of these on the census, and 569 of them are universal blue labels. So a very common book for the golden age. Probably one of the higher census counts for any comic on the census for golden age. Just a really great one though, but it's the reason it commands such money compared to other books that are much rarer is the fact that it is such an iconic book. So great one, great sale. Number 3 on the list is Startling Terror Tales number 11. This is from Star, 1952. It is an L.B. Cole cover, and it's the Death Spider, his classic Death Spider, where you get this giant spider with this skull head. You got a woman that's like just about to get eaten, maybe. You got a guy that's looks pretty dead as well. And really, it's like this classic cover for L.B. Cole, one of his more popular covers. And this was a 1.0 sale. And it sold for $2,600. So $2,600 per point. So pretty massive sale. This is a new record for this book. The previous record was set back in December of 2023 for $2,459.50. So this one is a big sale. There's actually 2 variations for this book. There's a blue variation and a black variation, where the title has like a black outline or a blue outline. Now the first version of it was with the black outline, but then you couldn't read the word Tales, so they changed it to a blue outline. Well, this was the blue outline one, which is a little bit more common than the black outline. But still, great sale, you know, for this book. It shows that it's continuously going up in value. There's 112 of these on the census, and 102 of them are universal blue labels. Number 2 on the list is Marvel Mystery Comics number 56 from Timely 1944. It's an Alex Schomburg cover, and it's a crazy cover. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in this cover. You got Toro being barbecued, like he's on a spit. He's like tied up and being spun around, and he's being barbecued, which is interesting because he's normally a flame character, so he's being barbecued, kind of weird. But there's also this girl in a red dress in bondage, and maybe she's next on the barbecue. And then you have a guy with a hook and an eye patch, and then you got these hooded Nazi guys. It's just so many things going on in this cover. And that's typical Alex Schomburg at that era, because his war covers were really great propaganda covers. And this is one of those really cool propaganda covers. Now, this was a 4.0 that sold, and it sold for $2,800. The previous record for this book, though, this is way down. Another steal in a way. The previous record was set back in April of 2022 for $5,520. So this is about half what it had sold for in 2022. Now, that was a bit of a weird sale, though, to tell you the truth. It was kind of an outlier sale. Like, it just was like, if you look at the trend line, it's kind of like this, and then boom, and then it goes back to that trend line. It was just an outlier sale. So, you know, yes, it's down half, But the most recent sale for this book was more was $3,360 back in January of 2023. So it's kind of more back in line with getting to that trend line. I think it was just that one-off sale kind of threw it off a bit, but somebody overpaid with that 5,520 sale. But it really did kind of make it look like this book had a major drop. But when you look at the trend line, it's kind of more, this is more along the line of what you would expect the price of the book to be. So that's where you have to look beyond just the last sale for a comic, because sometimes the last sale can really throw you off and you think, oh my goodness, the next, if it sold for 5,000, then it should sell for 6 or 7, or, it keeps on going up. But no, comics don't work that way. There's usually a sort of a trend line, and you can, if you sort of look at the trend line, you can see these kind of outlier sales that can maybe make it look like the book is hotter than it is, or it can be just these one-offs. So you got to watch out for that. There's 46 of these on the census, and 36 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Number 1 on the list is Batman number 4. This is from DC Comics, 1940. It is a Bob Kane and a Jerry Robinson cover. It is the 4th appearance of the Joker, and it's the first appearance of Hacienda, which is Joker's hideout. So kind of a cool first appearance for Joker, because it's his hideout's first appearance. And it's also the first time they use the word Gotham, Gotham City, to refer to the area that this is all happening. So a bunch of cool first elements, major elements for Batman collectors. Now this was a 3.5 that sold, and it sold for $2,950. Now that is also down. So the previous record for this book was set back in December of 2023 for $6,200. And the most recent sale for this book was set back in April of 2024 for $3,240. So it has dropped. This was a kind of an interesting thing. That $6,200 sale was not an outlier. It was kind of trending that way. But this recent sale kind of was like a price correction. And now we're seeing another further price correction for the 3.5. I'm not quite sure why it's price correcting so much, but this one is down quite considerably. A little bit more than half what it had sold for. And it's so much down that you'd have to go back all the way to 2020 to get books for this price usually. So it's down quite considerably. I'm not sure why. I'm just reporting the news. Don't shoot the messenger. What did you think? There's 305 of these on the census, and 212 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So what did you think of the list? Did you buy any of these books? There's some pretty cool books on the list. I hope you enjoyed it. Overall, the market seems a little bit soft. You have some sort of kind of selling for what you would expect. Some are considerably down. And it's interesting. As I said, it's a bit all over the place, but very interesting list. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.